Senator Inhofe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I had to leave to go to the Environment Public Works hearing, and so I don't know what was covered in all the opening statements and other questions. But Secretary Gates, as you discussed in your speech to the Army War College, you had some tough decisions to make, and we all understand that. But you stated that the Army did not agree with your recommendations to cancel the FCS. I understand that yesterday you reversed the policy of non-disclosure, which I thank you for. It's my understanding that some of the people were going to be hampered in terms of what they're going to be able to share with us. But Tuesday, we'll start the hearings, the service chiefs, and I would hope that you would encourage them to give us their independent opinion if it's different than the policy that has been articulated by you and by the President, and that also, I wanted to ask you the question is, I had sent a letter out to the service chiefs asking them for a list of the unfunded requirements that they were not able to fund in this budget, and I never heard back. So a two-part question would be, are you going to encourage them to give their best in independent judgment in responses to the questions that we ask on Tuesday? And secondly, how do you want to handle this situation with the in terms of the unfunded requirements? Whether or not we're going to receive something sometime, it'd be very difficult before Tuesday's hearing, but are we going to receive something from the service chiefs?
First of all, what I have tried to do, Senator, is to bring some discipline to a budgetary process that, shall we say, lacked a certain measure of discipline in the past. As you indicate, when the President's budget came up here, any inhibitions created by the non-disclosure statement were eliminated, and I told everybody that at my staff meeting on Monday. I'm putting out a written notice to that effect today, encouraging everybody who comes up here to testify fully and candidly, and particularly for those in uniform to be prepared to give their best professional.
Yeah, I understand that, and I appreciate it.
So the answer to your first question is absolutely.
All right.
The answer to the second question is, with respect to their unfundeds, I decided to actually ensure that everybody followed the statute. I have no problem with them putting together a list of unfundeds, but the law requires them to inform me about that list before they send it up here. I'm having that meeting tomorrow, and so you all should get the services list hopefully by Monday.
Okay, that's good. I appreciate that very much, and I'm curious about the decisions that drastically changed what we are doing here in altering the budget. In relationship with the QDI. I know this is an awkward situation because our QDR would not be received probably till, I think, December, and so it'd be very difficult to do that. But with the major changes that were made, and the QDR being a very important part of that decision-making, I guess what I'd ask of you is, did you, since you couldn't use the current QDR, and these are major changes, did you use the previous QDR? On what did you base this that would substitute for information that would otherwise come from a QDR?
Sure. First of all, I did use the last QDR. One of the principal problems, as I've been briefed about QDRs, is a disconnect between what the QDR says and how the resources are actually allocated. And so in some respects, many of these decisions implement recommendations or the analysis that was done in the last QDR. It also builds on the National Defense Strategy, which was issued last fall, behind which there was a great deal of analysis. It obviously also built on our experience in Iraq and Afghanistan and the experience of both the civilians and the uniformed folks. And I would say in a unique situation, a combination of both appointees by President Obama and holdovers from President Bush were all involved in this process as well. So I think that there is and I would say another factor that was involved was a fair amount of common sense. Some of these were where it was clear in the briefings that the programs were out of control and we weren't going to get anything out of the programs. In some, it was that the requirements had changed or the requirements didn't take into account recent events.
That's fine. Mr. Secretary, my clock is running too fast here. If there was another report that you referred to, perhaps you could share that and find it so that we'd have a chance to review that too.
Sure, I'm sure the committee got it last fall.
Great, okay. On the Army modernization, we're really concerned about that. I can remember going over this thing and very critical of President Bush back in 2002 when he axed the Crusader program. And at that time, I remember Chief Shinseki got involved, and we reevaluated. To me, the FCS program is the first major transition of ground capability that we've had in some 50 years. And we've gone through this thing, we've made decisions, we look at the various elements of the FCS, and I will refer specifically to the nlos-c cannon. The nlos-c cannon we're further along with that than anything else right now. A lot of money has been invested in it. We're still using and still will use, even on the previous schedule that we had on the nlos-c cannon, the Paladin, which we all understand the basic Paladin was World War II technology. We've gone through some PIMs. We're going through one now. But I would just, in this case, I would just like to, I disagreed with your position to dismantle or to terminate the FCS program, but we do have some things written in the statutes saying that in the particular case of the nlos-c cannon, that should go forward. And the question I would ask you is that how do you plan to handle the fact that we have a law that says you're going to have to do something that you said you're not going to do?
Well, first of all, let me say that the front end part, the increment 1 of FCS is not only stays in the budget, but is enhanced and accelerated. And that is the networking, the UAVs, the unmanned ground vehicles, and so on. All of that is not only going to be completed, but it's not going to be limited to just 15 BCTs, but spread throughout the entire Army. So the whole front end, the networking part of FCS is being preserved and will be deployed. My problem was with the ground vehicles, and the premise behind the 8 vehicles in this program, including the cannon, was that they were all going to be based on a similar chassis. Mm-hmm. That chassis started out at 18.5 tons in 2003 or 2004, went to 26 tons in 2006, 27 tons in 2007. It's now at 30 tons, and it's likely to go to 35 tons, but they're still thinking about putting the cannon on a 30-ton chassis. So this thing has been filled with Band-Aids, and so what I'm asking the Congress to do is look at this thing, and it's the ground vehicle part of this that I think that I have taken an action and recommended to the President and is reflected in his budget, and it is because the original design of this program, including the cannon, did not take into account the lessons we have learned in Iraq and Afghanistan. The infantry fighting vehicle had a flat bottom, 18 inches off of the ground, clearly not taking into account anything. There's no provision made to use the MRAPs, in which the Congress has invested $26 billion. And the contract was all messed up. You've got 8 vehicles divided between 2 manufacturers. 90% of the performance fee is guaranteed at critical design reviews. So there's little performance incentive left for the rest of the program, including prototyping and so on. So I think between the failure of the program to be redesigned to take into account the lessons of the wars we were in, and the shortcomings in the contract, that it was important for the Army to take a fresh look at all of the vehicles associated with this program and then move on. I couldn't agree more that vehicle modernization is a high priority, the Army's highest priority, and I totally support it, but we got to get it right if we're going to spend $150 billion on it.
Well, Mr. Chairman, my time has expired. I'm aware of that. I would like to argue that point. As a matter of fact, as time went by and changes were made on the flat bottom and all of that, that shows that a lot of consideration was made and a lot of changes were made to update that to meet current needs. Now, I did want to get into a lot of other areas. I understand my friend from Georgia, I'm sure, will talk a little bit about the F-22, and I'll wait around for the next round because I do want to get into the missile defense part of this budget. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Inhofe. Just to complete just one thought of Senator Inhofe here, it just fits directly here. I also understand that you said at the Army War College on this subject that all of the money for FCS in the out years will be protected to fund the new vehicle modernization program. Is that an accurate quote?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.